Good evening. I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show to celebrate the return of Kissel. Mary Kissel, the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal and the host of Opinion Journal, has returned, and she has a great deal of information. And so we're going to go right into it because the crowning news of the moment is the rumor, the whisper, the intention for Hillary Clinton to declare her presidency within these next days. We're told Saturday, maybe Sunday. It is a moment we've all known that's coming. However, sort of like, what is whipped cream going to taste like when you put it on top of a dessert? But then again, it's whipped cream. So what to make of this? What to make of Hillary Clinton's candidacy? We're going to spend time talking about that for the next hour. However, we're going to begin with a report that Mary and her colleague Joe Sternberg put together about the trouble in Europe. This is a story you'll see in the margins, but the Wall Street Journal covers it very carefully, which is called, I think colloquially, Grexit. There's trouble in Europe with the European Union, with the European currency, and Greece, especially, Mary, since it's come to a very handsome, very vigorous, romantic figure, somebody who could have stumbled out of the set on La Boheme. But in any event, his name is Tsipras. He's recently been in Moscow exchanging grins with Vladimir Putin, the Tsar. Tsipras and the Democratic left in Greece are threatening to leave, threatening to walk away. Is this a problem in Mr. Sternberg's, in your opinion?
Well, this fellow has been trying to gain leverage over his creditors because Greece can't pay its bills.
Right.
Why can't Greece pay its bills? Because Greece has done zero good reform. And so now they find themselves in a pickle. And Greek voters elected this fellow on the idea that, he'll magically solve all their problems. And thank goodness, the creditors, the IMF and others, are not budging, and they're saying, no. Actually, you do need to pay your bills, and you do need to do the reforms that we've asked. And if you don't do the reforms that you've asked, you're not going to get the money that we promised you. Right. So we think, and I talked, as you said, to Joe Sternberg, who's based in London for us. I talked to Joe today and said, is that such a bad thing if Greece decides to leave the Eurozone? And Joe said no.
Yeah, this is the surprising part. This was the twist.
Right,
yes.
Right. But he says it was such a deadpan delivery. Anyway, no, it would not be a bad thing, because if Greece were allowed to break the rules as it did before we got into all of this mess, then it would empower other populist parties across the continent similarly to resist reform. It would send a message to voters across Europe that, it's okay because, big sugar somewhere is going to be out there to bail you out. So let's hope that the Europeans remain firm, and if Greece has to go, Greece has to go.
And the idea of Europeans staying to a course, though, Mary. All right, we'll hope, because we're going to move into American politics now. That's Grexit. Now we move into Stand with Rand, or Rand with Stand. It rhymes. And the junior senator from Kentucky announcing his candidacy. You spoke with Steve Moore of the Heritage Foundation, because Steve has been interviewing all of the potential Republican candidates, but he's a particular favorite of Rand Paul's. In fact, he's been working with his domestic program.
That's right. Steve has been advising Senator Paul on domestic economic policy. So we had Steve on the show to say, what does Rand stand for? Excuse the dangling preposition. And he talked a lot about flat taxes, smaller state, lower spending levels, a lot of very, very good ideas. The problem, of course, with Senator Paul are not those ideas, but his very isolationist and sometimes kooky stances on foreign policy.
It does get him attention in interviews, Mary.
It does get him attention. And look, on the editorial page, we've been very kind, I thought, in the editorial towards Senator Paul. He's vigorous. He's got a vigorous mind. He will hold other candidates accountable for bad economic ideas. For example, John, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he reacts to Marco Rubio's tax plan, which is not a good tax plan. Will Senator Paul call him out on that? I don't know, but I bet he will. We're going to have a vigorous exchange of ideas, and I think Senator Paul is going to be a big part of that, and that's a good thing.
Mary, I want to advance my thinking about Senator Paul, but I want to include, you mentioned Senator Rubio. Senator Cruz has already declared his presidency candidacy. We also have Bobby Jindal and Scott Walker. A number of the Republican candidates who are thinking or intending to run for president are younger. And what I like about this is that one represents all. It's a fresh face for the Republican Party.
It is, John, but it's also a double-edged sword. We've just gone through many years of a first-term senator who had no executive experience. And when you look, oh, no, you're sighing. Sorry.
No, it's not that. It's just that I'm trying to come up with a contrast with the inevitable, which is that Mrs. Clinton is going to be on the stage. Mrs. Clinton is a member of my generation, Mary. She's senior. We associate with Howdy Doody. We associate with television being the center of our lives. That is not the experience of the Gen Xers, and it's not the experience of the millennials, who are critical to the success of a presidential campaign. That's why I understand Rand Paul has moments where there are not consistencies.
That's diplomatic.
But he is energetic. He is surprising. He's actually contrary in fresh ways.
Look, John, so was Howard Dean. We never had a President Howard Dean. There are lots of candidates who whip up excitement with the younger folks, but it doesn't mean that they are viable candidates, so they're going to become the party's nominee.
Let me reload one more time. Rand Paul has gone to New Hampshire the day after his announcement. It's very early in the morning, and he's recording a segment with, I think it's the NBC Today show. Young correspondent
Samantha Guthrie.
Savannah, the one name for a city. I remember now, and I didn't know anything about this. I watched the video clip. Guthrie is reading off good questions written by the producers. That's how it works. Fine, she's doing her job, and all of a sudden, Rand Paul has what I would say is a television fit. It was fun. I mean, I thought to myself, he's on the Today Show. Does he know who the audience is? They're getting ready. They're getting the kids out the door.
Coffee.
Right, exactly. And they're mostly older, and so they're not paying a whole lot of attention.
But now they are.
And I thought it was fresh. I liked him for it. I realized that he's not been prepped to the extent of ironing him out so that there's nothing there. He's not been turned into mashed potatoes.
Well, yes, that is true. But it is also true, John, that on the presidential campaign trail, the American voters get to see who these guys really are.
All right, I'm going to try one more time, Mary.
Fine.
He's going to Iowa. The Iowa Republican voters, right? They don't watch the Today Show for hostile questions from producers in Savannah Guthrie's mouth. What they like is the spunkiness, the challenge. And Senator Rand Paul and others, Ted Cruz has said this, I believe the other candidates will mention, no to run against the media. The presumption is that it's hostile.
Yeah, but again, the major problem that Senator Paul faces are not just the kooky comments that he's made about the effectiveness of vaccines.
He does make
implying that Dick Cheney went into Iraq to benefit Halliburton's bottom line, or that the U.S. helped arm Al Qaeda in Syria.
It is a long list.
I mean, that's just the first three that come to the top of my mind.
You're not going very far back, right?
No, I'm not going very far back. But this is going to be an election not just about the domestic economy, again, about which he has some very good ideas. It's foreign policy is going to be front and center. And so this just may not be the right political moment for a Senator Paul campaign.
Finally, after storming all over the Republican Party, we turn to the Democratic Party in the presence of its conquest of states that are at the bottom of the state of the states. You spoke with Mr. Williams, who is a part of the American Legislative Exchange Council, which I understand for 8 years has rated the 50 states. 57 states is the joke. And 50 states. And the top show, surprising entrepreneurship, such as Utah, I believe. However, the bottom, that's the part I want, Mary. We're in one of the bottom.
Let's go straight to the bottom,
We're
John.
in one of the bottom states. It's surprising how it's not hard to make them up. In New York, Connecticut, New Jersey.
They all
have high
clustered
taxes,
together.
They have high regulation. And Governor Christie and Mrs. Clinton must run out of the two worst states in the country.
Yeah, but Mrs. Clinton has it a bit easier than Governor Christie because Mrs. Clinton was sitting as Secretary of State, and prior to that as a senator, not responsible for the day-to-day running of the state.
Interesting. She is not going to be responsible for New York. She lives in Westchester, the county.
I know.
Yes, all right.
But it's really Governor Cuomo who's on the hook for that, and he had presidential ambitions that I think have been cut very short by the poor performance of New York State. But Governor Christie, My guest today on Opinion Journal just laid into him because he's had 6 years to do something about New Jersey's economy. He declared the pension crisis was solved, and now all of a sudden, this year, we've discovered that it isn't solved. That's a big problem for him.
Governor Christie has not declared his candidacy. It's expected, but it hasn't been declared. He was a darling of the Republican Party in 2012. Now, not so much. Mary Kissel, the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal, the host of Opinion Journal, each day at 1 o'clock, and you can see the videos of the conversations that we just highlighted too quickly. We'll turn next to the tragedy in South Carolina and what it means for NYPD. I'm John Batchelor.